Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I accept the creator of the universe, be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the bloodline historical lineage, the historical people known as slaves, we who call ourselves BADOS, Black American descendant of slaves, some say Black African descendant of slaves, others say ADOS, American descendant of slaves. We, the today children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. And you know the motto of my show is, I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. I got a couple stories today. One, we're gonna go up into Minneapolis, where they say about 20 to 18 who were charged seem to have been out there, but the way they made it kind of look it was one session. There's been a string of robberies happening down in the downtown area, which you know is considered the business district no matter where you go across this globe. And there was some disturbing images. Had the image, and again, you know, some people like to parade and propagate a certain image, but again, we don't condone crime. We just gonna report for what it is. But again, we always know there are some things that are systemic to what you see. It's never just all what you see. There's some cause and effect. We're gonna unravel and look at that story. Another story, we're gonna go to North Carolina. Did you hear? There was a sheriff, accordingly, had got caught up trying to resolve an issue that again he was having about himself having some, that's what I said, himself having some kind of racial things that had been recorded by a former deputy. And he's figured a way, the only way we were going to rid my problem was to go ahead and off this individual. That's what I said. He was going to off this individual. So we'll go over there and we're going to check that out. Did you also hear about something that happened up in New York upstate, where a judge went on social media about a few weeks after him getting his bench and posted some things that seem to be very incendiary, has a long history for certain people. Again, when we talk about the justice system, in the emblem, it looks like it is something that is something to be for everybody and not just against certain people. But in this case, those words and that image posted does not represent, according to the image, what they want to portray. So he been reprimanded, and we're going to talk about what happened in that situation. Again, this is Black Minds News, the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Stay tuned as we reveal these stories. Hey, how's y'all doing? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to Black Minds News Live Report. First and foremost, for those, again, who might be in the house, that should be my subscribers, what's good, fam? Old subscribers and new. Let me tell y'all something. You know, yesterday they took 9 subscribers from me yesterday based on what I did, even though, again, you would think that a show that comes on live would seem to have a broader spectrum, right? Maybe somebody passing by and actually seeing. Oh no, they're going in full blast. They were so pissed off about yesterday's show, they took 9 subscribers. They want me to believe that, again, a person with 2.9, now they got me down to 4, right? I was 2,949 yesterday. Today I'm 2,940. But again, my records are showing 2946. Now, where's a contradiction somewhere? But again, we understand, we as who we are, BADOS, ADOS in this land. We know that there's a lot of people out here who do not like what the Black Corner YouTube is talking about. So I am, again, been in the business for 7 years, right? Again, that had videos that used to be 225,000 plus, 50,000, 30,000, you name it, I was getting it. All of a sudden, I went into a little hiatus and come back and I can't get past 100 views. As if like the show closed down. The whole store of YouTube just closes down after I done did my video, right? Because I know you're sitting up in here. If you ain't got you sitting in there and the rest of you sitting in there listening to me. But anyway, you do what you got to do. Again, you new passing by, go down the aisle, see some things that you might see. If you happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way, remember that the motto of the show is the truth. Don't need no partner. Now let's go ahead and get up into this, right? Let me go ahead and do what I do. And let's see, I got a couple people in the house. If any family up here, let me do a quick check. Okay, just a couple people sit up in here. All right, so let me go ahead and get to this. So let me go ahead and show you this first story here. Again, going up in Minneapolis, right? We're going to check this out right quick. Okay, let me go ahead and read this to you. So hold on one second. Check this out. I'll be right back. 20 arrested, 18 charged in brutal downtown Minneapolis robberies. You know I'm going to say that again. 20 arrested, 18 charged in brutal downtown Minneapolis robberies. This story is coming out of Minneapolis WCCO, and this is how it reads. 20 people arrested, 18 of them now charged, all connected to brutal robberies in downtown Minneapolis. The attacks were caught on surveillance video taking place in August. Police say groups of people would target one person, assault them, and often to take their cell phone and wallet. The 18 suspects range in the age from 15 to 27. Walking alone is all part of Sinbaka's commute in downtown Minneapolis. Doesn't make me feel singled out because all the time I am alone, Barker said. And like when I commute at 6 in the morning, I am by myself. At the train station, I'm alone. His concerns grew upon seeing the disturbing robberies caught on tape occurring near the places he walks. At about 4 a.m. on August 17, at the intersection of 5th Street and Hennepin Avenue, a man stands by himself while looking down at his phone. Slowly but surely, people approach him to talk. Eventually, he is surrounded, beaten, and left unconscious. Also, the thieves could take his phone and wallet. A few weeks earlier, outside Target Field, another group targets a man who is alone in broad daylight. They attack him and even ride a bike over his body, all to steal his belongings. Police said during a 3-week stretch in August, 48 robberies were reported in downtown, with 23 happening in 1 week. From January 1st to August 26th in 2018, police said there were 156 robberies downtown. During that same span in 2019, there were 240, an increase of 53.8%. Most of the robberies are taking place along between 3rd and 6th Street, as well as Hennepin and 2nd Avenue. The key time is from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Police said the criminals in the recent cases finesses the victim. They search for easy targets, typically someone who is intoxicated, alone, and looking at their phone. Many of the juveniles that are affected by this are part of just coming out of incarceration, and they don't have any hope at home. There's nothing there. And so they come downtown where there's a little bit of everything, and they're waiting on somebody to prey on, said V.J. Smith, founder of Mad Dads Minneapolis. The organization is an outreach group that fills downtown every weekend. They will do everything from break up fights to feed people, but most importantly, be the adult figures at risk youth might be missing in their lives. Many of those arrested for the robberies are juveniles who Mad Dad workers have interacted with. These people in the community that are doing this, we have to have some consequences for this, but we also have to get to the heart of it. What's wrong? What's your problem? Is it education? Is it mental health? What is it? Let us treat it and let's fix it, he said. After the recent arrest, police said robberies dropped to just 3 in 1 week earlier this month. Regardless, Barker plans to keep up his guards up. It's still challenging to feel like safe because I'm always kind of vigilant about my surroundings, and if something does happen to me, it might happen to someone else, and just being aware of that, Barker said.
Just a warning, you're about to see some really disturbing video. It shows these robberies happening in broad daylight that investigators are describing as vicious. And the rise in these crimes is really exposing this problem of police recruitment in the city of Minneapolis. So I'll quote one of the descriptions from an incident from a court document, as you can see what this security video shows. Quote, the footage shows approximately 12 individuals viciously assaulting and attempting to take a cell phone from the victim. The assailants rip victim's shoes and pants off and go through victim's pockets. At one point, victim is thrown to the ground, left motionless, then repeatedly jumped on, hit with planting pots, and then ridden over with a bicycle. CNN's Omar Jimenez is with me now with the details, and I mean, this is absolutely awful. Has anyone been arrested?
It really is, Brooke. Scary images to look at. And yeah, actually, in the past 4 weeks or so, Minneapolis police had to form a task force of sorts, and they arrested 16 people in connection with multiple robberies, some within just a few blocks of each other. But I also want to warn, as we show a little bit more of this police surveillance video, that these images are disturbing. And yet another one of these instances, many of them occurring in the same precinct in downtown Minneapolis. These were attacks, really, that were violent in nature, where robberies were occurring over the course of them. When you look at the overall scale of what we have seen over the course of the year in Minneapolis, 240 robberies in that one downtown precinct alone, and that's significant because that is up 50% from what we saw last year. 23 over the course of 1 week alone last month, and that was part of what prompted the police to form that task force. And let's keep in mind, this isn't happening in a vacuum. This is happening as we are hearing from the police that they are having trouble recruiting and that there are shortages in police officers on the streets.
Alright, so we're back. So there you go. Got a little information for you there on that Minnesota situation. According to the article, it talks about 20 were arrested, 18 were charged, right? What we see is see some ranges between 15 to 17. Look like there's some teenagers out there getting themselves involved in some criminality, right? Say the idle mind is where the playground for the devil, right? So we see that there was these so-called connected. Now again, way they made that appear in the article would make you think one situation where 20 people rob one person, right? Now, you know you can't get 20 people robbing one person. How you going to split the phone? Okay. Again, it may gain mob action, right? But that wasn't the situation. What it was is that there had been a series of robberies. The systemic, again, according to they had the stats talking about 156, I think of last year, and 240 of 2019 down in the downtown area. Now, you know, downtown areas where all again, you got your merchants, you got your Gold Coast line, all this stuff here. So again, you know, they're going to be very apprehensive about having that kind of, you know, scene, and it's not good for business knowing that you go down there to get robbed, right? So we're looking at the fact that these young men here, again, there's going to be a lot of people who speculate from their perspective about what they see. But again, everything is a little bit about cause and effect, right? Everything isn't just so much about what you see. It's about how did we get here? Now, again, many of them just on observation. Again, I probably maybe I guess we don't see the image enough. We don't want to keep promoting that. But the image that you did see, most of them look like they could be BADOS, ADOS, right? It could be, again, sometimes looks can be deceiving, but we're just going to say if that be the case, so then they're tied to the historicalness of this land about what happened to black Americans in this country and the lack thereof because of the generational or the wealth gap between whites and blacks, right? And that the fact that they, again, as they talked about in this article, they talked about how majority of them were those who had just been kind of like just out released from something they probably had did prior. You know, they all teenagers, right? Juveniles is what they call them, right? And so a lot of them are coming out, and when they come home, they're coming home to nothing. They don't got no money. They don't got no job, right? And so we see that this organization called Mad Dads, again, has a lot of affiliations with a lot of them, and say that their interactions, really, what they do is sometimes they give them some food, right? They, you know, give them some food, and then they're down there working, trying to break up a lot of the ruckus that sometimes they are causing. But again, you got to ask yourself, those who've been around a little bit, you know, there used to be a time where you could go get a job, McDonald's, Burger King, and so forth. Those were the jobs that you did between those ages, between 15, 17, getting your feet wet as until getting into the employment, right? But because due to the time of everything, you're now, these teenagers are competing with adults, right? And so now then you also have immigration and everything else. So again, it weeds out a lot of them. And again, we're going to say that a lot of them maybe not just be studious and then went to school and so forth. But again, we have to be honest with ourselves. Is school for everybody? Even though I know that's part of the requisite of how you're going to survive in a capitalistic society when, again, the detriment of society is used as the cannon fodder that makes other people have their business running, if you understand what I mean by that, right? And so again, if you come from impoverished, dilapidated areas, generations of people who been just in this net that is hard for those, again, those on the outside is, again, my analogy is always the so-called, let's put it this way, window shopper, right? You on the outside is those who don't understand what it is to be ADOS, BADOS, right? You look from the window and you observe, and from your understanding and what you understand and what you know, you try to make an assessment about something that you do not really know. You look at the mannequin and say the clothes that it got on, how you can imagine it would look like if it was on you, and then you want to buy it. But what about the mannequin who could tell you exactly what it is to have it on? Do you understand what I'm saying when I say that? Right? Do you get that? So these, again, there's You know, people say, well, just go to school, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, all the things. But again, this is a cause and effect that has been going on again. We just happen to be, according to their count, of 1619 to 2019 is 400 years. What has been done to remedy any of that? Now, see, if that had been remedied, then you can point the fingers and say what they done. And again, we're not here to condone what they did. That's not what I'm here to do, right? We're not here to condone that. But again, somebody without, want, need, and all day long, you're being prostituted about what you should have. You know, you sit down in front of that damn TV all day long. You want to buy this? Don't you want this? Don't this look good if you have, right? So here it is, a capitalistic society that always propagating and prostituting itself. And then here's people who always looking and who always out of the loop. And they ain't got. So they got to be creative. So again, if you're not going to sell poison to your damn people, the next best thing is, well, I guess, you know, I watch a lot of these cop shows and robbery shows and, you know, and videos and, you know, that looks like something I can do. I'm not too skilled in too many things else, right? It doesn't condone it, but again, we got to understand why they doing what they doing. So here's an organization that is sitting here, I'm going to give you a meal, but what is that going to do for the rest of the other two? Again, they say 3 meals a day. Minimum, right? 3 meals a day, at least you get one. You can get to like Malcolm X and get to 1 meal a day and be suffice with that. But in this case, you know, the satiable appetite that is always being, you know, pushed on you about what you should have. You know, again, you ain't from old school where we used to be where, again, you didn't buy what you didn't want. Again, you say your eyes bigger than your stomach, right? You got champagne taste, water money. You know what they say, champagne taste and water money, right? But you ain't got that. You ain't got access to that. You don't have that. So what you gonna do when the whole bunch of you get together, got no place, ain't no YMCA for you, ain't no park, right? You ain't got a park, but you go, you know, the outdoor because of the environment. It's not conducive because somebody in the group might have done did something, somebody looking for them, and bullets ain't got no name. So what happened is somebody come with a grandiose idea and say, hey, let's go downtown. We end up going downtown, and what do we see? Who we think we going to be doing the victim? Because see, one thing I see that's starting to change a little bit is the fact that people are looking at not themselves anymore because they realize I was robbing for practice, right? If I rob somebody who looked like me in the same condition I'm in, I'm really just practicing. Really, I'm just rolling the dice. Maybe I look up and catch you with something. Most likely you probably ain't got nothing, no more than I got. So they said, well, let me go on down here where I know if you're coming down here, you're probably shopping. You got something. They say at least got a phone, right? You can sell the phone or whatever. I guess, you know, it's kind of like old, you know, car, what they do, steal the vehicle and go take it to the chop shop. I guess the same thing with a cell phone. You can take it somewhere and make some money off of it, right? And so people who, again, most likely the high percentage of people having that, you're going to have that. So again, like a stagecoach, you ride past, here they come the banditos, and boom, they got you, right? But this one here got caught on, and again, you see who it was white man out there getting mollywopped by a bunch of, you know, again, there's Joe Biden in them and the terminology that they use, right? And so, again, we don't condone, but again, this is cause and effects. So you can't just look at the situation and say, and again, when you read some of these comments that a lot of people are talking about, again, you see some of that inner stuff with them about how they really feel about people who don't look like themselves, and they spewing these things, but you can't rationale and understand the fact that this is cause and effect. Longer you keep acting like it don't exist, it's kind of like something having, let's say, for instance, you got an illness, and you keep pretending like your illness ain't there, and you just gonna keep shining it off. But what ends up happening, it keeps growing, and it becomes a problem, and now you can't even cure it, right? See, this could have been resolved, but because, again, not wanting to deal with the situation, well, it's getting out of hand. Because, again, they were sitting there talking about that Minneapolis is having issues with police recruitment, right? I mean, it's kind of getting a little harder to be a police when you can't do it the same way you used to. Again, just do it the old police tactics and just doing it and then putting cold gun and writing bad reports because, again, people being a little bit more investigative. You got shows like Black Minds News and others in the black corner of the internet who are taking these, opening up, investigating and saying, hey, you know, the square peg don't fit in this round hole. So police recruitment ain't going to be as much because, again, a lot of them sometimes are just a step away from being on the other side anyway. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And so we just going to say that they had said something to the fact that said, they asked them, let's get to the heart of what's your problem, right? Well, what's really your problem? Is it education? Is it mental health? No. It's generational wealth gap. My mama didn't have no money. She working and you ain't paying her. My daddy, based on the system and the situation, I don't know what happened, whether he's there or he not, but he's struggling too. His daddy struggling. His grandmama struggling. You understand? This is generational. Now, I know some of you going to be sitting there like, oh, not for me. I'm Kundala. I'm 3 generations of education. Well, they ain't talking about you. We're talking about them. These are the ones I'm talking about. That's who I represent. Them. See, I ain't representing that because, again, what is your problem? Y'all got stuff and still, most of you just in debt. Yeah, you say, dressed up the part, look the part. But if I was going to look into to see the back of it, to see how much in deficit and debt your ass is, then we would find out that you just fronting, right? And that's just been the whole thing. Everybody want to front like everything is good. Now, again, there are some people out here who are doing better than others. But collectively, as ethnicity of people classified as Black Americans, again, we say African American, that encompasses everybody. That's people who come from other places. We're talking about just one specific people, the bloodline, as I talk about in the intro of my show. The historical bloodline ties that come from those people who y'all say who are slaves. That is who we are. And so when you see this is just the systemicness of this. And this is the neglect that the country has done when you don't remedy this situation. The infestation is going to do nothing. It gets like you have roaches, again, those who can understand that. You got roaches and you see 1 roach, you see 2 roaches, then you're going to have 10 roaches, then you're going to have 50 roaches. You understand? They're just going to keep on growing. Right? And then the thing is, now you're trying to give them raid, but they don't get immune to that. You understand? So, again, we don't condone the situation with that said, but we're just going to say that, again, they arrested them. Again, we don't know whether they really are the culprits. They do plaster them, but I don't think they even had the case to find out whether they're guilty or not. But you still threw them out there to do what? Send that subliminal dog whistle to certain people who already got this, ill will feeling towards Black American young Black men and trying to justify to say, see, look what they're doing. They're out there doing it stuff. And so that's why the police are shooting them. But again, guilty before going through the process to find out was it really them. Right? And then when you come out find out there's some of them that you do got, because you grabbed up 20. I don't know how you got 20. Right? So, if that happened in August, again, you get the video in August, and here we is in September, and you're going to round up everybody. That's some great police work when you're sitting there talking about what they say, they shortage in police. So, what about all those? I guess ain't a lot of crime in Minnesota, right? I guess. Okay. Well, anyway, but that's what that story is right there. And, you comment, you tell me what you think about it, and then we're going to move on to the next story here, right? So, I got another story for you. And this one here, let's see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go and do it here. And this story here is going to take, this one here is kind of like, again, I have a theme when I do my show here, right? Now I'm going to show you the young men over there in Minneapolis doing what they're doing. Again, we don't condone wrong. Again, you get them, you do what you're supposed to do. But again, all that is systemic. That ain't just, somebody just decide, hey, let's just go rob somebody. No, that's want and need. And then the satiableness of being, programmed to be a consumer in this nation. Think about that. Segment society has been, well, I ain't even going to say a segment. I'm going to say the nation in itself has been programmed to be consumers. Now, there's some of the people who are consumers who are ownership and got property and so on. But then there's one segment of people who've just been X'd out of the whole pie. But all they can do is come up and try to get a piece of the pie to eat. But can't own nothing, can't control nothing, and then think that, again, another analogy I always use is Monopoly. If you and a bunch of friends are playing Monopoly, let's say they already playing, you got caught, had to take out the garbage, had to walk the dog, had to run the kids back home from some play or something, then you come. Game been running for 2 hours. You come in. Ask yourself, if you played the game, the banker said, I'm going to go ahead and give you the money anyway, right? You gonna say, I'm still playing anyway, but everything bought up. All the hotels, all the property bought up. All you can get is what? Go to jail, collect the $200, maybe get lucky once in a while, community chest, and get a little bank favor, $50 in your era. How long can you play that damn game and find out that all you doing is moving till eventually you ain't got nothing? Well, that's how black Americans are in this country that you call the United States. Moving on. All right, so check this out and I'll be right back. North Carolina sheriff allegedly tried to plan murder of deputy who had recordings of him saying racist things. You know I'm going to say that again. North Carolina sheriff allegedly tried to plan murder of deputy who had recordings of him saying racist things. This story is coming out of the Slate, September the 18th or September the 17th, 2019, and this is how it reads. A sheriff in North Carolina has been charged with aiding an unsuccessful plan to murder a former deputy who had a recording of the sheriff saying racially insensitive things, according to a felony indictment released Monday night. Sheriff Brendo Wilkins of Granville County was recorded in 2014 phone call with a well-known third party endorsing that person's plan to murder the former deputy, Joshua Freeman, according to prosecutors, voicing a fear that Freeman would soon release the tape of the sheriff saying racist things. Wilkins allegedly told the person on the call that the only way you're gonna stop him is kill him. Wilkins, who has served as sheriff since 2009, according to the News and Observer, also allegedly told the person how to get away with the murder without being caught. You ain't got the weapon, you ain't got nothing to go on, he said. He also advised that the only way we find out these murder things is people talk, and therefore you can't tell nobody nothing. Not a thing. The person on the phone gave Wilkins a time and place where the planned murder would be, and Wilkins did not alert the deputy or in any other way intervene. He instead promised not to reveal anything about the murder after the fact. The plan was not carried out, but it is not clear what happened. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, which began investigating the threat after Freeman gave the district attorney a copy of the recording, it's not clear how Freeman obtained it, concluded that the threat was credible and points to Wilkins' personal animosity towards Freeman as a motivation for the sheriff's behavior. Wilkins was indicted on 2 counts of felony obstruction of justice based on his failure to intervene in the plot and his alleged advice to the would-be murderer. He was released on bond Monday night and, according to the News Observer, remains sheriff for now. All right, so we back. So now we got another situation here in North Carolina where a sheriff is helping, aiding, they say, to plan to help kill somebody because somebody had a recording of him saying some racial thing. Now, again, they didn't disclose what the racial things were, but I guess they were so, incendiary to the fact that they say, the only way we're going to stop this individual here is we're going to have to off him, right? We're going to have to kill this dude. So somehow he gave, again, we have to look at this. Now, this is sheriff, again, sometimes, okay, this is in that county or whatever, but then you just have regular, just police, right? So I always kind of mention that when I talk about a lot of these stories. Sometimes the fact that, again, who knows law just as much as almost like a lawyer and a judge? Police. So, again, he gave some advice to how you can do this and actually get away with it, he says, right? He said, first thing you do, you don't be talking. Don't tell nobody nothing. Well, see, that was the point. You was talking to that individual and that got back on yourself, right? So anyway, so he says that. And, sometimes some people can't fathom in their minds because, again, they uphold the authority and the badge. And, again, it's not saying people are against police and authorities. That's not what we're saying. Black folks just sometimes are looking at the situation and saying, okay, sometimes when we've been saying things other than to the all-seeing eye got involved, right, with all the cameras, right, and recordings, right, it used to be black folks always lying. Black folks making up stuff all the damn time, right? So here's a situation where something like this is being presented. And some people will take it with a grain of salt, say, okay, that's just one. Hey, like that old hawk, I remember when the time when, what was his name? Mark, I forgot that brother's name. They don't even talk no more. They didn't got rid of him because he talked about something about the Jewish people, right? So they got rid of him. And he was talking to doing the air, he was like, just one killing that they had on radio. Just one. Tech is just one, right? More than just one. But the fact is that it could be a plethora of different people because of the simple fact that if you have shows again, because general media is only going to pick and choose accordingly, but Black Minds Media is only going to pick stuff that is pertaining to dealing with, associated with some of the stuff that we have to be dealing with. So when we see a situation like this, we have to say, okay, now this is a sheriff. He did what he did based on his reasoning. But are there other situations where police doing certain things again? Because again, the job is the job, but then the person behind the job. You get what I'm saying? You have a job, and then there's the person behind the job. So I can get away with doing a lot of my dirty deed, hiding behind my job. Now, see, a lot of times we don't want to think that, police are like that. But again, when we look at the percentages of those who are being incarcerated, we have to say, well, damn, how is there so much of this? And they're the smaller portion, but they're the biggest, incarcerated. Well, some people say, well, they're always doing crime. Yeah, because they're always in damn need. I guess you would be doing crime if your ass was always in damn need. And, well, just get a job. Well, okay, let's say you have right now those baby boomers are, getting into the golden part of life and so forth. So then there's Gen X coming up now. They leaving the parenthood, becoming grandparents, right? So look at Generation X. Generation X is actually your bridge generation in this country because they the end of the old school and the beginning of the new school. Let me say that again. Generation X is the end of the old school and the beginning of the new school. So when Gen X was coming and being teenagers and getting into the adulthood, again, there used to be entry level. It used to be you could be a police officer. You ain't had to do nothing but finish high school, huh? Pass the written exam, pass the physical, and you could be that. And then there's the civil service test. Take that, right? So there was a lot of jobs. You didn't need a lot of, let's say, higher education, right? There's a lot of people who walked from right out of high school, got themselves a job, and that's what they had been doing until factories started leaving, right? Then they would come to competing about somebody undermining you, paying less for what the job that you knew paid more, right? And that whole business right there. So then Generation X is a generation that really got caught in between there, right? They got kind of caught in between there, right? And so what you end up having is you have some people, again, coming in as police officers, and all they had is grade school, high school information. Now they're a cop. But they could have been some kind of individual before they got in there. But now they got a long tenure as being a cop, right? They've been in there 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? But they already kind of a little taste on the bad side before they is, and they still be crossing the fence, and then they doing all kind of stuff. So here's the individual here. We don't know what his real background is. Where you going with this, Mr. Brody? Man, let's be patient with me. I'm going to get to you, right? All right, so here's the individual here, right? He been in a long periods of time. He done said all kind of things. Kind of like being on here doing these shows. Sometimes we say some things that sometimes some people feel a certain kind of way because, the model of the show is truth don't need no partner, right? And I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. Anyways, so he said some things to another former deputy. And when he said those things, I'm just wondering if Joshua Freeman is a black man. I'm just wondering. I don't know if another white man going to be recording another white man. Maybe he could be. Maybe he's a John Brown type. It could be. He could be. You know what I'm saying? They told us about John Brown. It's just one story we got. In the hundreds of years we've been here, we got one that put his whole family out there and went against the whole system. So he might be a John Brown, but I'm most likely to bet my bottom dollar that he probably not. And so he had these recordings, and he was like, well, you know what? I'm going to hold this in just in case, break this glass in case of emergency. So I'm going to present this when time needed. And he knew that, right? He knew that. So he goes to his resolve and is going to his old ways again. He's not too thinking too, he not putting too much thought in there. He just saying things. Then he come back to haunt him later. So again, how many people have he arrested? How many situations we go back in his background and look at all the arrests he done did and find out there's some mysteries in there. You get what I'm saying? See, that's the thing. When you find out when something like that, because again, like when you go in the court of law, what is it? If I find anything not in your credibility, like I find you kind of lying or shifting a little bit, all your credibility ain't no good. Right? So that means we're going to have to go back, sift through everything that you ever been had your hands in dealing with, and we're going to have to go through that for the fine-tooth comb to find out if it's all copacetic. When you find an individual like that, again, that's why you got to hold them to the highest standard. That's why it's like when people see police doing things to certain people, the civilians, they hard to be like, hey, wait a minute. I expect the person who's not who works for the law or upholding the law as a civilian. Sometimes they lack, they say defense, not knowing the law is not a defense. But there's just the people, again, who just don't know. And so they break the law because, again, either being intoxicated or just being naive and all that other stuff. And so it just happens. So when I see somebody who knows the law and know how to tweak the law and telling somebody else how to do that, then I have to say, how many times have you done that before? You get what I'm saying? You did before? Maybe I have to go back and look at some of that. So again, here's this individual here that's done this, a deputy. They said he's going to get into a 2 counts of felony for not telling. It's kind of confusing in there. Wait a minute, is he the one, or was he talking to somebody and telling them that? That's the way, again, when I was reading, I know they charging him with aiding. Now I say aiding, wait a minute. I mean, he was helping somebody, right? Aiding and helping, right? So he was on the telephone telling somebody how to do this. And so, again, knowing the profession, knowing how evidence work, and who best to know how to beat a crime. Matter of fact, what was that dude up in Illinois? What was his name? I can't think of his name. He had about 3-4 wives. They can't find none of his wives. And he was an ex-policeman. But they locked him up anyway, but they ain't got no evidence. Can't find nobody and nothing. Drew Peterson. Is it Drew Peterson? I think the Drew Peterson, something like that, right? He can't find nothing because he was a cop. He know how to, he can't find nothing. But they just say, we know you did it. We know you did it. Because you're a cop. You understand? So I'm just saying, who better sometimes when you say a situation, you can't figure out who is the culprit. Do we ever need to look over that way? Something to think about, right? And you tell me what you think about it, right? And I got one more story before I get up out of here. This one here, again, this is all going in the same line. So we start out with the teenagers. Now I got a sheriff. Now check this one out. Now this one here is just going to take this the cake of the cake here, right here. This it. And I'm gonna switch up the last part for y'all. For those who might be new in here. And I didn't even check to see if any of the fam in here. We're going to do this because I got breakfast to eat. Anyway, so so check this out, and I'll be right back. Justice resigns over Facebook post with Noose and Make America Great Again. You know I'm going to say that again. Justice resigns over Facebook post with Noose and Make America Great Again. This story is coming out of the Daily Beast, September the 17th, 2019, and this is how this reads. An upstate New York town justice has stepped down after facing disciplinary charges for a Facebook post that featured an image of a noose and the message, "If we want to make America great again, we have to make evil people fear punishment again." The Time Union reports. The New York State Commission on Judiciary Conduct said Tuesday that Kyle Canning had resigned from office effective June 27th and agreed never to seek office in the future. Canning posted the image in February of 2018, just a few weeks after taking on his judicial bench, which he was supposed to hold until 2021. He removed the image in August of 2018 after receiving a letter from the commission questioning the propriety of the image, according to Time Union. The noose is an incendiary image with repugnant racial connotations, Commission Administrator Robert Tembekian said in a statement Tuesday, adding it is the very antithesis of law and justice for a judge to use the image of the noose in making a political point undermines the integrity of the judiciary and public confidence in the court. Cannon's letter of resignation does not mention the image at issue. It is with a sense of despair that I find myself writing this letter, he wrote. As you are aware, the Commission of Judiciary Conduct has filed a formal written complaint against me. They have presented me with several different options in resolving what they claim to be a serious offense. I feel as though, due to my current financial situations and obligations to my family, I am being coerced into resigning, Cannon wrote. I do formally apologize for the inconvenience and hardship that I have imposed on my co-justice and the town of Altonia. All right, so we're back, right? So we got a judge who resigns based on the simple fact that he went on Facebook, post a noose, and make America great again, right? Make America great again may not be the worst of it, right? It may not be the worst of it, but putting a noose and you a judge, kind of remind me of that Clint Eastwood movie, Hang 'em High, right? Remember that? Hang 'em High, the old judge, right? So anyway, so we see that he had originally did this back in 2018, coming from upstate New York, right? And so we see that the commission came with a disciplinary charge based on the simple fact that this is what he has stated verbatim according to what the article states. It says, if you want to make America great again, we have to make evil people fear punishment again. Now again, is that like non-racial, right? Evil people. Evil people could be anybody of any color, right? We would be under the assumption that that's what you might be talking about, right? But then if you throw a noose in there and understand the historical connotative image of the noose, right? They use the word propriety, right? They said again, you being a judge, propriety is not what you're supposed to be doing. So, some people again, sometimes, again, being a wordsmith as well. Propriety is just another way of saying the properness, right? Maybe the correctitude, the correctness, the conformity, the decorum, right? Maybe like decency, the suitability, maybe the appropriateness, something like seamless, maybe becomingness, fitness, congruity, etiquettes, the protocol, right? The good form, the good manners, the gentility, the breeding, right? What about dignity, the grace, refinement, right? The delicacy, all that good stuff, right? We're talking about propriety, right? When you're talking about that, that's the upstanding. That's that one, again, how we've been programming to look at the judge in all black. Yet they don't like black folks like that. Why you got black means power? So why is it wrong when black folks talking about black power and yet everything that you put there got something to do with power they got on black? I don't get it. Right? It's confusing every damn body. But anyway, when you're going in the courtroom, see the judge right there, and the judge is supposed to be impartial, right? The judge is never supposed to be biased until we find out that they're corrupt, right? But according to just the image and the way the blind white woman with the scale and the unbalancedness, right? So justice is blind, right? In certain situations, right? So when you start using the term "make America great again," using the noose, well, black folks gonna feel some kind of way, right? Feel some kind of, wait a minute. Do you not know? You ever have any of y'all got that book? It's called Without Sanctuary. There's nothing but all hangings in that book, right? I own that book. All nothing but the hangings up in there, right? You got a couple. There's some white folks that did hang in there, but again, a lot of black folks in there. We understand. Again, what was the song? Strange Fruits, right? There's some strange fruits hanging around here, right? So that in itself is not good for a person like Kyle Canning, who again, he had just got his bench seat, right? And about 2 weeks later, he went on Facebook and he pulled that out, right? And said those things. So again, as I'm saying, evil people can fit anybody. But again, if we look statistically and see who was the most incarcerated, who going to jail more, who getting more time than anybody else, if you want to you want to make this place great again, well, it seems to me, as a person being from ADOS, it seemed like people thought this was great when you had me as a bloodline tag going back. When my ancestors was just working up from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, 1,000% profit. You know what I'm saying? Keep your eyes low. Don't look me in the face. Don't talk back. That's when it was great. I think that a lot of people kind of reminiscing about, right? And they had you, again, there's a show, the Black Minds News could probably never existed. We know that for a fact, right? Couldn't exist then, right? So with that being said, then you kind of reminiscing and going with the same theme that everything else has gone again with the Juicy Smollett, right? Juicy Smollett with the noose, faking this and all that. So again, I was talking about something yesterday about that with another brother who, if you didn't see the show, went in there on an insurance scam and did that whole thing that Juicy had did, and you know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? But again, we're not supposed to be playing with that. But see, some people they don't understand the severity of this. But anyway, here's a judge who renders supposedly justice. But somehow in his, somewhere in the, theta beta, in the mindset, right? In the theta part of his mind, something, he's sitting in there, but he got this kind of thought in there. So when he's sitting there and here you is as a black person, he might be thinking noose and make America great again. So he's going to give you the higher end on how you're going to be convicted or leniency or whatever it might be. You may not get it, right? And so if you find one, like again, going back to the analogy with the roaches, how many else are sitting in there just because of the simple fact they have not displayed it publicly? Doesn't mean you don't say it in the confines of other people and other people don't expose you. But just go to show you again and say again, like this individual here, this Kyle Canning, of anybody who has been before him and has been convicted, I think now you're going to have to go back, go through all the records and sift through, because again, was there racial and biases in there? Because again, the long history of that noose and the image, and again, I think there's a book out there called the 13 loops, something about there's a real deep understanding when it comes to that noose and that rope, right? And again, that signified again to try to do what? Trying to get black folks is, better change up this, because again, that's what he kind of allude to. But he's saying evil people to fear punishment again. But crime, again, they done already told you that crime could be deterred as long as people had some way to get some kind of economics, financial stability. Crime is only based on the simple fact that people are lacking need thereof. I figured that, let's just say hypothetically speaking, that let's say for a fact that the institution that has people incarcerated, they got something for them to do. You could get locked up and you can become very skilled in a job that you can't get on the outside. So there's plenty of jobs inside. Now, who are these corporations and things that are supplying these jobs for inmates? Why not to turn that and make that so that people can get jobs and maybe you could deter crime? Oh, did I say that? Oh, my fault. Because I think democracy has to run with a segment of society has to be tore up in order to make other people have business. Again, we have to have jails, we got to have correctional officers, we got to have people who create bars. It's lucrative. When you break it down, it's like an old car, bring it all the way down. They say, this car's worth more money, right? Broke down, then you sold it, right? You bring it down to the part, you can get just as much as almost get it back to when it was brand new. Old car, right? So if you break down and look at every bits and pieces of it, it's too intricate. This tentacles on this octopus is connected to too much. So anytime somebody's trying to clean all that up, what they never normally happened to them in history. See? That's just a facade. Nobody don't really want to deter all this criminality and crime, because again, they say crime pays, not so much as the criminal part, but it greases other, let's say, mechanical parts in this machine, right? And so when you have somebody who sits at that which regulates you in or out, right? Like we just seen a couple days ago where the cheerleader, right, who off to own baby and got probation. Then I seen a story the other day where a woman who was homeless, who was just trying to take her child and put her in a school situation so that they could have a better education. Because anything around black folks ain't really too good. It's everything, your ice is colder, your grass is greener. So it must be better over where you at than where I'm at. Because again, black folks live in those red line, those segregated red line off. And, we don't own. So then that means that our schools don't have no up to grade books. And, we getting the funding. And again, other people on the outskirts of those still try to get in. They get their piece too. Nobody want to talk about that part too, right? No people, they try to incorporate themselves like, oh, we're in that too. And you're still in too. And so you don't get nothing. You got 2019, but they got books that go back to 1980, right? That kind of stuff, right? And so what you expect, right? So these are the kind of people that you're going to get in that's going to continue to have what? Going to be involved in criminality, and all the kind of stuff, robberies and all this kind of stuff, trying to what? Just to survive. So now they're coming before us, a person like this one, who mind is make America great again and think you want to penalize you because you're doing criminal act. Now understand that this is a way that you are trying to survive. But there's a deterrent here. Get so much off the damn profit that everybody trying to make. But we know that's just me talking, right? Ain't nobody gonna give their profit, right? You're not gonna give that profit. So again, in some sense, he was good for the job, but he was never supposed to let that be out publicly, right? Hey, Kyle, what are you doing, guy? Sound like Joe, man. You're losing it, buddy. So we see that again, as June 27th, he was resigned immediately, according to what they said, and that again. They use a couple words in here. They said, again, this antithesis, right? Which is really just contrary or opposition or the reverse of, again, like I was saying, with the judge and the image. And again, it also talks about that, it loses the integrity and confidence. Well, that's something, again, that's like the whole thing with police in the communities, right? The rapport between community and police, because of all these situations where, again, we don't condone when somebody who is supposed to be done, black folks don't speak out on that. But when it's somebody innocent and the situation, again, the scenario or the situation that you told us, and then the way we look at it, and once all the evidence come out, it don't fit, then we have to say, hey, what's this all about, right? Now, again, for those that might be in Chicago, now, again, I can't find it. Now, let me show how potent this is. Did you know, according to what the article said, that I can't pull up, but I did have a news story. I could probably pull that up, but one day I'm going to pull it up. $3.8 billion paid in settlements in Chicago. 3.8 billion a year. Hello? Did you hear me? 3.8 billion. That's a lot of money. So that means that there's a lot of injustices happening, that they're paying that kind of money. That's why you're seeing they're trying to make Chicago worth the 51st state. They're trying to, the southern part, the outskirts, like, hey man, we're paying too much, man. You guys, right? Because see, there's a lot of corruption going on. So now it's there for the police, moving on up to where the judge is at. Again, you find one, you know there's gonna be others. You just got caught with your pants down. That's all. You got caught. And then did you see what he said though? Now this is a judge, and again, this is just gonna validate what I'm saying. You might have heard me read it, maybe you didn't. So when he decided to go ahead and do his resignated letter, right? This is what he said. He said the commission filed the complaint. He blaming it on the commission. Yeah, they're going to file a complaint on me. Now, they gave me some options as to how we could remedy the situation. Now, he said, this is what he said according to the article verbatimly. He said, they claim this is to be a serious offense. He said that having a noose and putting Make America Great Again, and the fact that if you want to make America great again, we have to make evil people fear punishment again. That's only offensive to whom? It's not very offensive, right? And he says, due to his financial current situation, he is being coerced to resigning. I don't know, maybe he got some money. Maybe he come from wealthy people or something. He can say his financial situation and his obligation to his family, right? So he goes on, and this is how he ends it, right? He said he apologizes, right? Oh, I'm going to apologize, right? For the inconvenience. To who? The hardship of my co-justices. Apology to the inconvenience of the hardship of my co-justice. and to the town of Altonia. Not that what, again, because again, even in the letter, even in his resignation letter, he never mentioned anything about the reason why it was having to do with the noose and that. He ain't even mentioning none of that. He blaming the commission for it. And then he's saying, hey, they're coercing me, they're making me do this. I don't see the seriousness in it. I don't know why they're doing this. As a matter of fact, only people I'm going to apologize to is the judges that I'm not going to be working with, and to the town and the family that I work in that's 82.5% white, 11% black. Right? 8-1. So, that's what it is, right? And, people like to say, hey, you guys always crying and always crying. Well, they use the word in there, right? They said the noose was incendiary, right? Incendiary, right? So, get a couple more and get up out of here. I got to eat some breakfast. So when say incendiary, this is what you got to say, right? When you say incendiary, what am I saying? What am I really saying? I am saying that using the image of the noose is combustible. It's flammable, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Flammable, burning, right? It's aggravating, exasperating, it's inciting, it's instigating, it's provocative, arousing, exciting, electrifying, fiery, blazing. You know what I'm saying? When you use that noose, man, you do something. I mean, remember those, again, who avid watchers of my show, when we did that about the Florida International, where those, TSA agents had the monkey and the noose right there so everybody could see it. Man, there was nothing about that. Then why would you put the image there? What's the purpose of the image if you're not trying to some kind of political, from a political point that you're coming from, right? Let's put it that way. Yeah, okay. So, some people just gonna have to just look at the situation of what you're coming from, and again, you might be feeling some kind of way because again, demographics are changing again. Somebody's grandiose idea was not to deal with the issue from the beginning and thinking bringing other people was the way you wanted to do. And then now you had to live up to the mantra of talking about this is a melting pot. When originally that's not what you were talking about. Let's be honest about that. Originally when you were talking about a melting pot, you was talking about the different whites of Europe, right? You remember, because y'all spread it all out, right? You got your Anglo-Saxons and right? There's all different Germans, Francophone, right? All this, right? They all being in one place. Them mixing together was going to breed this new kind of European, right? Because again, when we as the people, the bloodline, look who we were when they were talking about that. But because of the time, again, the greatest player of all is the creator of the universe. He's the greatest chess player of them all. When you was doing what you was doing, you couldn't foresee that in the future, that was going to end up being what you're doing now. Because see, you didn't want to deal with this, so you decided that we're going to undermine them and never give them nothing, and we're going to keep them in this position. And then you brought all these other folks here, and now that's a problem even to you, because now you ain't got no space or elbow room, because again, you're dealing with a lot of stuff. That's the same thing that we did. We're going through the 80s. We went through the crack Hiroshima bomb of crack too, right? But nobody would give no facilities and trying to sue nobody and get no money. The family would just toe up and deal with it. Oh, now you're going through all that, right? Now you're going through all that too, right? So, but then also now having babies, having problems doing that too now, right? So, okay, so now, right? You ain't got elbow room, because unless you want your baby half Spanish, and I think that's what that whole thing they talking about. You got to start speaking English. Yeah. Again, the official language of the country is not English. Did anybody know that? Official English, it's not English. So you be trying to tell somebody who don't speak English that you need to speak English. It's only within the official business. It's the only thing that has to be officially English. Everything else is not. So stop that, right? Stop it. See, if you just dealt with us, we'd have been cool with that. All right, come on, because we ain't got no language. You stripped us of everything that we got. Right? We ain't got nothing. We got to speak what you speak. And then you were talking about, you speaking Ebonics. I guess so. I spoke another language before I did it, but I've just been here so damn long, I kind of forgot it. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, so that's going to be the show for today. Right? I'm hungry, y'all. So anyway, again, I want to thank those who came here. Again, let me see if anybody even get a message out there. Maybe I got a person got a message or two out there. Somebody left. No, nobody out there. Okay, so yeah, I want to thank anybody and everybody who should have came and be here to live again. This is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds. And this is the Black Minds News Report. Sometimes we come on at 9, sometimes at 10, sometimes at 11. You know, we black. We on that colored time, right? We don't got a specific time, but you can always catch us over here, right? So, again, let me go ahead and do this. Hey, right? So, again, this is Black Minds News. Thank you for your participation. Remember, when you see one another, greet one another. What's good, brother? What's good, sister? If you can't do that much, you give that universal nod. Okay? You gotta understand that the team that you own and understand those who are on your team. Right? We got to also say that the fact that allies are good. But you got some questions you gotta ask your allies. One is, if and when shit get hot, are you still gonna be in the frying pan with me? Have you ever heard of John Brown? Is that something white people told us? Is that something real? Again, we are dawning on a time where there are some, not all, could put that together, some and not all, is some but all are seeking for your demise. It is incumbent that we as black people in this nation stay vigilant, mindful, cautious, and high spirit. Until the next Black Minds News Report, peace and love, and to the next show,